So when I talk about drugs, I'm actually going to be using terms that are related to the FDA monitored substances for health. And those actually get broken down into two different categories. There are dietary supplements, and the things that the FDA regulates as dietary supplements are subject to less regulation than the things that the FDA monitors and regulates as drugs, which are under much stricter rules. On the dietary side, and these are things that we'll cover in the next lecture and into the foods later in chapter 11, are vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. So when you go buy a vitamin bottle off the shelf at CVS or at Walgreens, you have bought something that's regulated by the FDA, just a little bit less strictly than buying Tylenol, for example. Enzymes and herbs and botanicals are also regulated by the FDA, and again, they fall under this dietary supplement category. On the other hand, on the drug side, there are two different categories of drugs, and we'll be going through these much more in our next lecture. There are pioneer and prescription drugs, so the things that you have to go to a pharmacist to get directly from them, and there are also generic and over-the-counter drugs. But the bottom line is that no matter what the molecule is, if it's treating something that's going on in your body, the basic principle is that structure controls function. So the structure of that drug controls how it interacts with your body and how it treats a disease or causes side effects or what have you. And the basic idea is that structure is important. And I want to look at this picture in the left-hand side here because this helps explain what's going on. In your body, you have what are called enzymes. And enzymes are just big proteins, right? So an enzyme is a protein with a specialized... You have enzymes in the saliva whose sole purpose is to help break down your food. You have enzymes in your cells whose sole purpose is to help make new proteins or to make new building blocks for proteins. This is the sort of thing that's going on. And the bottom line is that an enzyme has a special shape, right? So enzymes are shaped in a specific way. And this particular enzyme has a nice big opening here. And the enzyme is made to do one or two specific functions based off of the fact that it fits together like a puzzle piece with the substrate. The substrate is the thing that it's working on. And enzymes work on substrates because the substrates fit inside of them. They make a complex. And that complex allows the substrate to basically get in. It's like driving into the garage with your car, right? The car fits in the garage, and in the garage the enzyme works on the substrate and it does something to it. It's no longer the substrate, it's two new things. And those two new things don't fit in the garage so well. It's like taking your car apart in the garage, right? It's not suiting the same purpose in that bay in your garage, and it's also possibly taking up more space now, and so we kick it out and we send it out. That's what's going on with an enzyme. An enzyme takes in a substrate, it works on it, it changes it to something else, and then those something else's go away. And that is related to disease, right? Or pain. Pain occurs in your body because a specific molecule binds in a specific enzyme, and that signals the pain response from your body. And if you can block the enzymatic process that's responsible for pain, or the enzymatic process that's responsible for fever, or the enzymatic process that's responsible for depression, that helps block the symptoms of the thing. If you can block the pain signal, then maybe you don't feel pain. Or, if better yet, you could block further up the way the enzymes that cause inflammation, you wouldn't have a big swollen ankle to begin with to make you hurt. That's the way drugs work, and it all has to do with the structure of the molecule and the structure of the enzyme or the structure of the process that it's trying to do and it's trying to block. So one great example of this is the COX inhibitors. So COX inhibitors work when a cell gets damaged. It releases what's called arachidonic acid. And that arachidonic acid binds to what's called the COX enzyme. And there are two different types of COX enzymes. One's called COX-1 and COX-2. That's just categories. And what those COX enzymes do is they make prostaglandins. So the arachidoic acid goes to COX. COX turns arachidonic acid into prostaglandins. And prostaglandins are what cause you to hurt or to swell up or to get a fever. Remember, this all came back from your cell getting damaged. And the thing that got released from the cell damage got turned into a molecule that signals pain and inflammation. Well, There's a certain type of drug, a certain class of drug actually, because there's several of them, called COX inhibitors. And what a COX inhibitor does is it keeps COX from making prostaglandins. If the COX can't make prostaglandins, then your body doesn't know to hurt or to have a fever. And there are what are known as non-specific COX inhibitors, right? So they inhibit both the COX-1, right, both types of COX enzymes, and those are what are called NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. NSAIDs are things like aspirin. So if you take an aspirin, you're taking a non-specific COX inhibitor. Ibuprofen and acetaminophen, Aleve, also naproxen fits into this category. What they're doing, all of them, is they're binding COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes non-specifically so that those enzymes can't make prostaglandins so that you can't have pain, swelling, and fever in your body. The thing about that is that you'd prefer not to bind both of them at the same time. COX-1 is a class of enzyme that actually protects your stomach lining and it preserves kidney function in the body. If you ever read the warning labels on a bottle of ibuprofen, they say don't take too much of this. Don't take more than this certain amount within a specific time period. That's because when you take too much COX-1, you're damaging your stomach lining, or when you take too much of an NSAID, you're damaging your stomach lining, you're damaging your kidney function. And so there was a class of drugs developed a few years ago that were what were called COX-2 inhibitors, and those drugs were supposed to bind only COX-2 inhibitors. That turned out to be pretty good in terms of the fact that they bound COX-2 and only COX-2. They protect your stomach and they protect your kidneys, and they still keep the pain and the swelling and the fever down. But if you've ever heard of the drug Celebrex or the drug Vioxx, those were the trade names of the COX-2 inhibitors, the ones that inhibited just COX-2, left the COX-1s alone. And it turns out that they have their own side effects that aren't so great. It turns out that the COX-2 inhibitors actually give you an elevated risk of heart attack. And so sometimes with the drug you get more than you bargained for. You thought that you were just going to block the COX-2s, but something else happens. But that's the idea, right? A drug works because its structure blocks something in the body from happening.